Hi everybody, Kelly here. Welcome to SPTV Never Ends and Artology. I am going to show you what came out of the oven. I baked a whole tray of things and I'm going to show you how to resin. And so let's get started. As you can see, I used a cookie sheet. I put down a piece of parchment paper, and I also cover it with a piece of parchment paper. That seems to keep it from burning or turning brown. I have never really had that problem, except with when I was using Cernit brand clay, the translucent clay. I made a lot of other things since the last video. Here's the one that we made last on part 3. We'll resin that. But I also had a lot of other things going. As you can see, I have a whole tray full of mostly pendants. I did use some of my my scrap clay. I'll make keychains out of these. But yes. Oh, here, this is what I don't know. I think I showed you the canes that I made, where you slice off of them, and I make beads. There's the hole. I string these on wire, and because you couldn't, I guess you could resin each one, but that would take forever. So what I do is I string these on a piece of wire, and then I dip the whole strand into a container that I have a floor polish, like that you use on your floor, and I actually hang them on a fan to dry. Like I said, if you tried to resin all those tiny pieces, it would take forever. So let me show you. Now, resin, this bottle is so old because I keep refilling it, but UV resin I mean, there's a ton of different companies that make UV resin. There's another one. Here's another one. And I got all of these either at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Joann. And then these little guys, wait, those are open. These little guys come from Walmart, and they are made for fingernails. So it's a little bottle of UV resin made for fingernails. And I like to refill these because I like to brush. I like to use the brush that comes with, with the nail UV resin. Okay, I'm putting it once again on a piece of parchment paper. I got resin on my finger. Now, this is how I do it. I actually pour, you know what? Oh, I'll go ahead. I should have taken it from the bottle, but I pour some in the middle. And then I just, you spread it out to the edge, and it will not go past where you push it to unless you have just way too much on there. Then it will overflow. But I'm just taking this to the edge. I hope y'all can see what I'm doing. I'm just pushing the resin to the edge of the pendant. I'm not doing the white part yet. I'm just concentrating on keeping it on the colored part. And you'll get used to working with resin. It's pretty cool. It pretty much stays where you put it, believe it or not. And I'm just pushing it to the edge all the way around. And then I'm going to look at it from a side angle. I'm lowering my head. I'm making sure that there are no dips or spots that don't have resin, because that happens. You could have a big spot in the middle where the resin, where you didn't get the resin, and you end up having to do it all over again. Now, I have this little UV flashlight, and what I do is I set the resin with it. This will just set it, so when I put it under my big UV light, it won't go anywhere. It won't drip off, or like while I'm moving it from where it is, and my light is just to the left of me. I'll show you the light in just a minute. But this little flashlight just sets it in place and keeps it from running amok while you're moving it. And I just started doing this recently. I used to get it on there and then try to move it and get it under my big light. And a lot of times in the process, it would get messed up. So this just kind of sets it and keeps it from moving. Now, UV resin, let's see, let me read. I never time. I used to time it, but I don't time it anymore. My big light is over here. I'll show you that pink thing. It does have a timer on it. It has 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And I used to time things, but I don't anymore. I have a piece under there right now that I'll leave under there. And I'm going to move this one under there. And I see a spot that I missed, but you can't fix that until this layer is dry. So I will let that cure under there for, let's see, I think it takes like 7 minutes. It doesn't take that long, but in the meantime, the bad thing about that UV lamp is that it only stays on for 90 seconds. So I'm constantly having to push the button to get it to turn back on. Now you can buy big, they almost look like toaster ovens, but they're made for they're resin light, UV lights, but they have a little tray that slides in and out, and they're about the size of a small toaster oven. So you can get a lot of pieces on there at once, and you can set the timer for however many minutes you want, so you don't have to keep pushing the button. So what are we going to do in the meantime? In the meantime, I'm going to put this on hold, and I'll be right back and show you the resin piece after it is cured. Okay, so I'm popping back on because I'm going to resin around the edges now. If I can find, I know I just refilled one of these little bottles. So So I'm going to go around the edges carefully and hope for no drips. It's best to use too little than too much because it will start dripping off the edges and you will end up with resin everywhere, which, I mean, that's not the end of the world, but it's just easier not to have to clean up resin that has dripped off of your piece. And how I'm putting it on, this will go right up to the edge where and meet where I put it on, you know, the main part, if I do it careful enough. Now, I wanted to also tell you, a lot of people sand their pieces after they take them out of the oven. I used to do that. I don't anymore because I found that it was just a waste of time. Once you resin, everything is real smooth. I mean, unless you have something that's really sticking out. I have a hair on here. Like, unless you have like a spot on your piece that somehow, I don't know, got bumped or something, and or a place that you don't like, you can sand it off. And some people sand it and then buff it, and that way they don't have to resin it, but it's never as shiny as when you resin it. But there are a lot of people that just buff. Polymer clay will buff to a shine, but it's not a real big shine like this resin is. And I want to come over here where I missed a little bit earlier. I'm probably going to have to put a whole nother coat on the top of this because I see some unevenness. And I'm going to go up here and put resin here. And then after this cures, I will do the sides. And once again, I'm using my little UV light to set the resin that I just put on so it doesn't drip off in the moving over to the bigger light. And also I wanted to tell you that different clays, when you bake them, depending on the brand, I believe they all have a little bit different oven temperature that they will have you bake in. Sculpey is the brand I use the most. They tell you not to exceed 270 degrees. I'm going to check that in a minute to be sure. And my oven, now I'm going to transfer this over to my big light over here and start the curing process again. Let me check my Sculpey package, and Yeah, okay. Here's where it says 275 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 minutes per quarter inch. So, depending on how thick it is, for every quarter inch, you bake it 30 minutes at 275 degrees. I know that's not showing up very well. Um, is this going to autofocus? I'm wondering why my webcam doesn't autofocus. I thought it was supposed to, but I guess not. Anyway, yeah, different clays have different temperature settings that you use. And like I said, I use Sculpey, so 275, but my oven runs hot. I got a an oven thermometer, and when I tested my oven, it was, I put it at 275, and it was like 285 when I checked it. So I set mine at around 260, and I usually bake things for at least an hour. 30 minutes is not long enough. If you watch other polymer clay artists that use Sculpey, they always bake it longer than is suggested. Now you can also bake a piece for 30 minutes and take it out, and say you want to add something to it. I'm trying to think of, you can bake it and take it out and add something to it, and they make like a glue you can use. You can't put baked clay and raw clay together without having a special glue that they make for clay. You can put unbaked clay with unbaked clay is fine. You don't have to use glue necessarily, but if you put baked clay with a piece of unbaked clay, you have to glue it together. Yeah. So, and then you can pop it back in the oven and bake it again. Anyway, I hope that wasn't too confusing what I was trying to say. But you will find that 30 minutes every quarter inch usually isn't quite long enough to get a good solid piece that won't break after you bake it. Now, remember I said don't use Sculpey 3 because after you bake it, it's always real brittle. And when you're trying to resin it, or you're trying to, say you were making an earring with Sculpey 3 and you tried to put the ear wire on or a jump ring on, your piece will break right in your hands. And that's so annoying to spend so much time making something and then to have it break. It will make you cry. Anyway, so I'm going to finish curing this, and I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and did the sides because that was just kind of boring. I'm going to do the back, and then we'll be finished. I'm taking it from the bottle this time just because there's more in it than those little bitty fingernail polish jars. Okay, now I will drag the resin out to the edge all the way around. This is almost as boring as watching paint dry or grass grow or ice melt. Have y'all seen Clearwater Chad doing the parodies on Chris Shelton? They're pretty funny. He'll have his camera going all night. Now this looks like it's about to go off the edge because it's tilted a little bit because of the bail. I hope it doesn't drip down the edges because then it's a real mess. Hasn't gone yet. And so let me get my little light. I want this to cure so I don't have any drippy drips. But I do want it all the way out to the edge also. There we go, and it looks really good. It hasn't started to drip yet, and it won't because I am sealing it, especially around the edges, with this little light before I put it under the big light. But yeah, this wasn't perfectly. Oh, I do have a drip going over here. Ah, right here. Right there. And I might have to go back and sand this, and I'm going to have to because I started to cure it. And so what will happen is I'll just go ahead and cure it, and then I'll come back and sand that off right there. I don't know if you can see it. See where it's starting to drip? Yeah. That doesn't happen very often, but it's an easy fix. You just have to sand it off and then go back and resin over it. You can't resin over just that part though. I will have to resin over the whole thing. I might just have to resin the side though. If I'm very careful sanding it, then I will just have to resin where I sanded. Yeah, I should have checked that a little more carefully before I threw the light on it. But okay, I'm going to transfer this to the big light, and I'll come back when that is finished. Okay, so now I am just going to sand this part down. I might have to do this off camera because this might, well, I'll just continue. Anyway, all you have to do when you have a drip like that is sand it down and then just re-resin where the bald spot is. Okay, so I'm not going to have to resin the back all over again because that's fine. I'm being careful and just sanding on the side where the blip is. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bald spot. I need to take it down a little bit more. But anyway, I'll finish that. But so you got to see the resin process, and it's just a matter of pouring the resin on and pulling it out to the edges carefully and then letting it cure. You can let this cure in sunlight, and I do that sometimes. I resin like that whole tray that you saw at the beginning. I will resin, a whole tray at once, and then take it outside. And it only has to sit in the sun about 10 minutes, and then everything's done. It does cure a lot faster in the natural sunlight. So that's how I do it sometimes. But anyway, okay, so that's going to be the end of the polymer clay series. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I think I need to make some little cards for a couple of people that says, I'm thinking of you. And I will probably film that while I'm making them. I'm going to do them in watercolor. I have a little idea. So that will probably be next. But in the meantime, have a great day, a great night, wherever you are in this great big world. And remember to be nice. It's easy to be nice. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.